Hello, American Patriots. Douglas Ducote here. And boy, we just came onto this show a lot faster than I expected we were today. Hey, thanks for joining us. We're going to have a wonderful show. It's a special show about what's happening on our border. It's an update from some things that we've already spoken about. We're going to have Jessica Vaughn. She's a Fox News regular. She's also, as many of you know, serves as a director of policy studies for Center of Immigration Studies. We're also going to be bringing on, again, Dr. Corsi of Corsi Nation, who's done extensive work on immigration and border corruption over the decade. And Chris Barbarino, owner of Provigo and a representative of the Terrablock Border System Solutions, which we did a video on just recently and also talked about in our last live show. This is a system that if you haven't heard about this yet or you haven't seen it, boy, have you got something to see here, because this is amazing. It's exactly what we need right now on this border to fix this problem. We're also going to have John Jensen's coming on. He's author of Fix the Nation, who is from LI News Radio, a station that's doing some great stuff, putting out a lot of wonderful information for us on immigration and what's happening on the border. Look, this border is being forgotten, basically, okay? There's so much happening in the news these days, especially with this impeachment inquiry that's happening with our president. You know, it seems like everything is in its cycles, news cycles. And what gets lost the most, in my personal opinion, from what I'm seeing, is our border. It's not changed, my friends, from what we've been watching, okay? Just going back a few months ago, it's still the exact same. We have people coming across that border that you do not want as your neighbors, all right? We are doing good things for people that are trying to seek asylum, or people that are coming to us saying, hey, look, help us, we're being horribly treated by drug cartels or what have you. But the folks that are not coming to the normal checkpoints, that is what we have to bring to your attention. That is what has to be addressed. And the only way to do that is going to be to secure this border. It's not going away. It's getting bigger. All right. You just don't have the mainstream news media down there showing it to you anymore. That's all going to change. It's going to change with us. It's going to change with Team Ducote and the wonderful people that we're working with. Myself and my producer will be going back down to the border again next week. We will be bringing you more stuff. We will be talking to more landowners. We will be sharing their stories with you of what's happening to their farm animals, what's happening to their pets, what's happening to their homes and their property. There are things happening down there that no one else wants to talk about and no one else discusses. You know, if you've been watching my videos, I will bring that to you. That is the most important thing I can possibly do, is share with you the exact truth, what is happening and what we face, not just on the border, but all across this country with corrupt politicians and with things that basically make American patriots get upset and look at as very sickening. That is something, I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican, if we send you to Washington, D.C. to work for us and you don't, well, you know it, folks. I'm going to call them out because they're there to do us. They're there to work for us. That's what we sent them for. And this border is something that we're not going to let go of. And we're going to continue to bring it. We're going to continue to push it. We're going to continue to show you what needs to be done to protect our country. Without borders, you have no country. So stay with us. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with Jessica Vaughn.
The United States-Mexico border is roughly 2,000 miles long. According to Customs and Border Patrol, on the day that President Donald Trump took office, there were roughly 1,350 miles of border that had zero barrier, and roughly 650 miles of border that had a combination of slats, roadblocks, concertina wire, or some form of fencing. Today, after 3 years of Donald Trump serving as president, there are still roughly 1,350 miles of border that have zero barrier, and roughly 650 miles of border that have a combination of slats, roadblocks, concertina wire, or some form of fencing. Recent reports by Customs and Border Patrol admit that the Trump administration has only constructed 81 miles of barrier, mostly steel slats ranging from 18 feet to 30 feet high, built in the 650 miles of area where some form of barrier already existed. This is often referred to as replacement barrier. The Trump administration has not built any barrier in the 1,350 miles of border where no barrier currently exists. Recent reports say that Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law, is going to be taking over the White House marketing for the border. Their goal is to have 400 miles, including the 81 miles already constructed, completed by the end of the calendar year 2020, not by the 2020 election. But the majority of this 400 miles will only be replacement barrier and will not address the 1,350 miles where no barrier currently exists. As reported by Breitbart News in October of 2019, based on statistics provided by Customs and Border Patrol, the apprehension of migrants who crossed the border into the United States reached 1.1 million during fiscal year 2019. More than 850,000 crossed into the United States illegally. Of those, nearly 500,000 of the migrants were family units. The apprehension of migrants illegally crossing the border is at the highest level since 2007, when agents apprehended 858,638. This is dangerous. We are being invaded. At Team Ducote, we have developed a solution. We are working with experts. We are working with Middle America to bring you the solution to invasion, which is war. W for Wall, a Terrablock solution system which can be rapidly deployed across the 1,350 miles that currently have no barrier. Terrablock tells us that they can provide the system for under $1 billion, and this can be deployed by the Army Corps of Engineers, who we are already paying. A for Alarm, a PID, P-I-D, Perimeter Intrusion Detection System, a smart technology which would allow Customs and Border Patrol agents as well as National Guard to know when someone is trying to breach the system. And R for Responders, manpower. We propose a National Guard rapid response team placed every mile along the 1,350 miles we are addressing. A 6-man team working in 8-hour shifts, 3 shifts per day, would only be roughly 25,000 National Guard. We can stop this problem. President Trump can do this through an executive order. He can do this by deploying National Guard through federal command, and he can do this with the money that has already been allocated through the Department of Defense. At Team Ducote, we are looking to provide solutions to securing our border and securing our sovereignty. We will work with other veterans, law enforcement, angel families, and any other Americans willing to get on board with a solution-based proposal. This is an invasion. We will bring the war.
I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic.
And welcome back. Folks, please welcome Jessica Vaughn. She serves as the Director of Policy Studies for the Center of Immigration Studies. Jessica, thank you so much for joining us. Your knowledge of the border of immigrations in general is something that everyone needs to hear. So we appreciate you coming on with us today.
My pleasure to be with you and to talk with you. But you're right. What the introduction that I heard with all those facts is right on the money in terms of the levels of illegal immigration that we've seen over the Southwest border.
Excellent. And that's one of the things we're going to ask you about was, what are we looking at right now as far as the latest border crossing numbers? Is that pretty accurate what we had in the commercial?
Yes, indeed. And coincidentally, just today, the Senate Homeland Security Committee had a hearing with 4 of the top immigration officials of the Trump administration, specifically to put on the record a lot of the facts surrounding this border crisis that still exists today. And it was stunning, the litany of numbers that they produced for this hearing, which I'd like to share with you, I think is
Please.
exactly what you're looking for.
Yes, indeed.
What we heard today, the testimony was that more than 1 million people were apprehended crossing illegally into the United States last year, the 2019 fiscal year, which was up 68% over the year before. And the highest numbers on record of unaccompanied minors and family units coming in, most of them from Central America. One of the most disturbing statistics that they produce is, they caught more than 1 million people crossing illegally. They also estimate that at least 150,000 people were successful in entering the United States illegally. And those are not the families and kids. Those are the hardened criminals, drug traffickers, people that don't want to be caught by the Border Patrol so that they can make an asylum claim. They are able to enter because the Border Patrol is so distracted by what has gone on with the influx of family members and kids that they cannot patrol the border. Mark Morgan, who's currently the head of Customs and Border Protection, said that at certain points during this crisis, 50% of the Border Patrol agents who were on duty on a given shift actually had to leave their duty stations to process these families and kids, leaving a gaping hole in our security. So while they may be catching some of these individuals, and while the numbers have come down in the last 6 months because of the Trump administration's efforts, the number of an amount of drug seizures has gone up. The amount of illicit narcotics that can enter the country has gone up because of the fact that this crisis of kids and families so takes the Border Patrol off their game. And it's a problem. And there are some other incredible statistics that they mentioned. Something like 20% of the family units who were coming across were actually fraudulent cases of people who rented a kid, stole a kid, or otherwise acquired a child to bring with them as a deportation shield. And they only have discovered this because they've started doing rapid DNA testing at the border.
Wow.
They're doing a lot. What they're finding also is that they're getting good cooperation with Mexico, and that's one of the major reasons that they've been able to make progress, but it's still a big problem. The number of gang members that have been apprehended crossing illegally doubled in the last year. So this is, anybody. Yeah, and a lot of them are MS-13. A lot are other gangs from Central America, like 18th Street. And these catch and release is still very much in effect. They've apprehended something like 600,000 family units, but only about 55,000 of them were sent to Mexico to wait for asylum processing there. Most of these people were just allowed to enter and go on their merry way into the United States, coming to a town near you. And the Remain in Mexico policy is only in place in a couple of spots in Texas and New Mexico. And there are signs now, some reporting from the Wall Street Journal, that the smugglers have figured this out, and they're now starting to funnel people through Arizona, and that could become the next hot spot because they're nimble and not as nimble as our government. They're always going to be more nimble, but it's still that these officials were begging Congress to do something. They were saying, look, there's only so much we can do through executive authority. There's only so much we can count on Mexico to do. Mexico is not controlling the cartels. So Congress needs to give them the money and the legal tools to keep our country safe, because it is still a crisis.
Oh yeah, 100%. Just today, right here in the area of Louisiana where I'm at on Interstate 10, which is a big corridor for
Mm.
drug trafficking once they get across the border. Typically, for the drug trafficking over in this section of America, they're coming across the border with Texas. And a guy was stopped. He managed to get the 160 pounds of marijuana across the border onto a truck, and then they started transporting it. Now, people say, oh, well, it's just marijuana, okay, and we're legalizing that all over the place. Well, that's true, but this is just one bust in one location close to the border. What we've got many, many other drugs that are way more powerful that is escaping and managing to get across that we just don't have the manpower down there to help stop it. What does Center for Immigration Studies, do y'all have any solutions that you're working with that that y'all believe could be helpful outside of, yes, we need more border agents and obviously we need more money for that, but is there anything in particular you guys have been talking about that that you think may be a help in the near future?
Well, of course, we need more barriers at the border. There's no doubt about that. And the Border Patrol needs money. We need some changes to the law so that people are not so easily able to abuse our asylum system. So, and ICE needs more detention space. But really, we're never going to get control of this problem until the lure of job opportunities is taken care of. So we need more interior enforcement in the country, particularly to go after employers who are hiring illegal workers. We need to end the sanctuary policies that are giving people cover once they make it into the United States and prevent them from being removed by ICE. And we need to actually start removing more people. ICE is basically able to go after the worst of the worst, that fraction of the illegal population that is committing crimes here. But they need to also start going after the hundreds of thousands of people who've come in this recent influx who said that they were applying for asylum, who were given court dates. Most of them do not show up, and most of them don't even file an application to begin with, much less show up for their court case. We need to start saying, look, it's not just criminals that ICE is going to be removing. You don't get a free pass just because you haven't committed a felony. They need to start enforcing the law against those individuals as well, and unapologetically, because the longer we allow them to stay here in our communities, the harder it gets to be politically to deal with this problem. And it's bound to be an enormous fiscal cost for taxpayers if we do not address this, and not, I mean, address through removal and denying job opportunities and driver's licenses and identity cards and so on. So that, not dealing with it by just throwing up our hands and enacting a mass amnesty, which is sometimes what Congress wants to do.
Yes. Jessica, what do you think out of, let's say, 100 that are apprehended coming across the border, not at checkpoints, we're talking about trekking across, trying to get here illegally. Out of 100, what do you think the number are that's roughly that are actually people with criminal records that they're doing this because they can't come in any other way?
Well, that's a good question. We don't know. Presumably, most of the so-called gotaways who entered successfully are more hardened criminals and individuals, as I said, who don't want to be caught. It's probably about 10% of the people being apprehended do have a criminal record. They on a daily basis, I get emails, press releases from the various local field offices of CBP and ICE about a gang member they've arrested, a convicted child molester that they've arrested at the border, somebody wanted for murder in Guatemala that they've arrested at the border. So it is a share that's probably somewhere between 8 and 10% of the people who are coming in.
Gotcha. Look, thank you so much for sharing this with our listeners. What you guys are doing over there is wonderful. Please keep it up. And I hope that you will come back in the future and talk with us more as we work on this problem, as we try and address it, as we try and bring it to the forefront. This has to be something we believe that is the talk at everyone's dinner table. It's that important that we discuss, and share knowledge. Why is it that we are okay with having a lock on our door or locking our car, but we're not okay in a lot of cases with having border protection? So thank you for what you guys are doing. We appreciate it. You are a great American patriot.
Well, thank you for what you're doing to educate Americans on this problem, and good luck with your trip and stay safe.
Thank you so much. All right, folks, we're going to be right back after this break with Dr. Jerome Corsi of Corsi Nation and Chris Barbarino. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Folks, some of the people coming across our border are legitimate people looking for refuge to escape violence, and some are just as dangerous as ISIS terrorists in the Middle East and will chop your head off if given the opportunity. Hello, American patriots. Douglas Ducote here. The Second Amendment, it's not for hunting. It's for protecting ourselves against our government. Well, the last thing you need to worry about is your weapon being rusted and not working. Folks, here's your product. FirearmGuard.com. Use promo code Doug for free shipping. This will protect your weapon from any rust and mildew issues. And we are back. Folks, Dr. Jerome Corsi, who's written about immigration and border corruption for over a decade, and Chris Barbarino, representative of Terrablock Border System Solutions. Welcome to the Douglas Ducote Show. Thank you guys for coming back. We are very blessed that we're working with you guys to share this new system. So for those that are just tuning in that haven't had a chance yet to watch our previous shows about the Terrablock system, please share with us a quick update on the system and what we got going here.
Well, thank you very much, Doug. We're very happy to be back with you. Thank you. The Terrablock system, as you can see, is a rapidly deployable system of border protection. It was developed for the military. HESCO is a company that is a established Defense Department contractor, and their specialty is to do the rapid deployment of perimeter defense systems. I mean, if you can imagine, so we're going to send troops into harm's way in Syria or Iraq or wherever around the globe. You can't wait to put up these 30-foot steel barriers, which could take years to manufacture and get in place. A company has to be ready like HESCO to come in and do it now. And we want the border we want this perimeter, this compound for the military secured in 24 hours, 48 hours. Well, that's what the Terrablock system was designed to do. And it can be put in all these 1,350 miles that are really unprotected right now, largely in Texas, tough terrain, but this system is very adaptable, and it's a smart wall. You can see how it can function as a barrier. It can be put in place on those 1,350 miles by election day 2020, the entire border secured at a cost of under $1 billion, which is the cost for manufacturing that President Trump has already appropriated. No need to go back to the Democrats in Congress. The Corps of Engineers can work to actually assemble the product as it's dropped in the field. And you can have very, very rapid security, even on the tough terrains with the Rio Grande and the mountainous terrain in Texas. Right now, as you point out, we've got a drug cartel war going on. And if this system, the Terrablock, is good enough to produce U.S. troops in harm's way, some of our most valuable human resources as a nation, it can protect the citizens on the border from the criminals, the gangs, the narco-terrorists that are coming across right now, as we saw in this horrific massacre about a week ago in Mexico with the Mormon family.
Yeah, and what a horrible tragedy that was. And we're going to actually be here in the very near future talking with numerous family members that have lost loved ones due to this horrible immigration situation we have down there and illegals coming across. Chris, the PID system, can you share a little bit with us about how that integrates with this?
Absolutely. And thank you again for having us on your show. So the PID system, the Perimeter Intrusion Detection System, is a platform that is available in a number of different types of technologies and can be placed and deployed in various different types of systems. The HESCO Terrablock barrier system had in mind in the design to incorporate a PID technology. So along the 358 anti-climb wire mesh, they designed a piping system that allows for a fiber optic cable, which is highly sensitive towards any vibration or movement. So this detection will send a signal, which was alluded to in the video earlier in the show, to a central command station. And that central command station we envision will be manned by CBP, National Guard, some tactical task force teams that can identify a potential situation where they need to put and bring more resources. So this is our first line of defense, right? We keep talking about we need something, we need a solution. The Terrablock solution is the first line of defense that we could put there very rapidly. The PID system with this technology, we envision would have additional PID components as well. Radar detection, video detection, all linked and creating more smarter technology out there so we become much more effective at the border.
Excellent. And then so we know that we can, well, the sooner we can get it started, obviously the better for getting it done before 2020. How much of this per day is reasonable to be able to be put up and installed? Mileage wise, are we talking about, a couple of miles a day, or what do you think?
So
if you want something, go ahead, Chris. Yes, you take it.
It's a little complex question to answer because there's different types of Terrablock solutions that are going to be applied to the different geographic terrain.
Gotcha.
Looking at that 1,300 miles span, we believe that could be fully deployed after product is on the ground. That could be deployed inside of 3 months.
Okay, that's I'm telling you, from everything I've seen when I've gone down there, and I know you guys as well, especially you, Dr. Corsi, we can't get this happening fast enough. Where are we at right now, Dr. Corsi, with this, with the president? It is at on his desk, or at least is in the White House waiting for him to review. Is that my understanding?
Yes, we brought 10 copies delivered into the White House. One was put on the president's desk. The others were distributed in the White House. On last Friday at about 5 o'clock, I received a call from the Department of Homeland Security, and they requested proposals which were delivered this week. The word is getting out, but if you do the comparison, Jared Kushner is just increasingly taking control of the public dissemination of information about the wall that's being reestablished or created. And the estimate is they can do about 6 miles a week of these 30-foot steel barriers. And that means it's going to, let's say 1,200 miles unsecured. That's 200 weeks. That's over 4 years, and it's going to cost $22 billion. I mean, I can't imagine the Democrats are going to allow this to be, $22 billion. And 4 years is a lot of time. A lot of people are going to be killed or injured from the drug and other violence coming across the border that could be prevented if we use a Terrablock solution and get it in place now.
Yeah, the technology's there. You guys have shown it to us. Here's my suggestion, and if you can think of anything else, please jump in. My suggestion is everybody needs to be contacting your representatives of both parties and telling them Terrablock, telling them you want this system down there, telling them Terrablock, sharing it on all your social media platforms. Let it become a household name, because it's going to take the people letting members of Congress know, pushing it all the way up to the White House, that this is the solution. And if it's not, then somebody up there in Washington, D.C. needs to explain to us why it's not. And other than wanting to waste billions of dollars, there's no reason why you would not want this system. The most important thing I believe that we can tell the audience, besides educate yourself a little bit about the system, is let everyone know about it. Share it on social media, and for God's sake, please contact your representatives and call Washington, call the White House switchboard. And where's Terrablock at? Has the president seen this yet? Is he talking about it yet? Why isn't he talking about it? What else can we do? Is there anything you can think of, either one of you, that the audience can participate in to help push this?
I want a couple of suggestions. One is if you go to any search engine and you type in the Terrablock plus HESCO, HESCO, there's several different videos that are short, and they show you how the Army Corps can put these into the field quickly, how the units can be assembled. They show them in a lot of different conditions and situations where, anti-climb and all the different features of Terrablock. The first thing to do is to see it with your own eyes and to understand that this solution can be rapidly deployed and it will work as perimeter defense. Then calling your representatives, telling other people about it. My web page, which is CorsiNation.com, we're featuring it. I'm doing podcasts every day on Corsi Nation. We're featuring this. And I'm very active on Twitter at Jerome_Corsi, JEROME_CORSI. And I'm every day tweeting about this and showing the videos. If people see it and talk about it and get involved, this will spread like wildfire, because I think it's an intuitive solution. First time I watched television, it was a little tiny Philco television, black and white. I watched mostly the test pattern all day. Today I'm watching high definition television on my cell phone. This is a modern solution. We don't need a wall of China anymore. We need a smart system that's adaptable. It can be moved. It's resistant to being intruded. That's the kind of system that will save lives before Election Day, with this problem solved in terms of a defense on the border that we don't have now in rough terrain, which this can adapt to.
Yeah. And one thing that everybody needs to understand is we are utilizing this system to help protect U.S. forces overseas in different locations across the globe. All right. So if we can utilize it for that, why are we not utilizing it right here when we have the money to do it? We have the Corps of Engineers that can do it, right? Even if doesn't even have to be active duty Corps of Engineers. It could be the engineers from National Guard or Reserve units, for that matter, to get this system up and installed. And the most important part is that Trump will be able to say, come election time, that I fulfilled that promise. I got the border secured. Because, folks, I'm here to tell you, and so are these gentlemen, that there is no way, it's just not feasibly possible to continue to build concrete wall the way they're doing it and come anywhere close to being done by 2020. Okay, it's not going to happen. Not to mention that you can't move it once it's up. You have to tear it down, where this system can be moved, and it is mobile to go. As you know, not only is it rapid deployable, as you saw in the video, but you can adjust it as need be, okay, which is one of the most important things about the system. And then you integrate the technology to alert where things are happening at, and integrate with that response teams to go to those locations. We're going to not only be saving and helping Americans, but we're going to be saving lives in general. All right. Even if it's someone that's, trying to come across, that wants to come legally, that got lost on the way. Okay. And they got their kid with them, whatever. They touched that fence, touched this border. We're going to know about it. Okay. Which is not what's happening right now. And this is an immediate solution to stop the literally thousands of tons of narcotics that are coming across constantly, and the sex trafficking and the MS-13 gang members that we were talking about earlier with Jessica. This is the no-brainer. In closing, gentlemen, what can we, anything new that we haven't already discussed in the other videos? And I suggest everyone, please, if you haven't already seen the prior shows we've done on this system, please go look at them so you can hear that as well. But is there anything y'all would like to add in closing about Terrablock, or what we need to do to help push this?
Chris, any comments?
Our goal at this point is to be provided the opportunity to present the system to our administration, to teams at the White House, so that they could see with their own eyes, show an on-site demonstration of how fast it could be deployed and the type of barrier system that it prevents. That's our goal.
Excellent.
And I would just add, I would add that, this is a very established company. Anyone who's been in the military in forward deployment is going to know the name HESCO. And the systems are different. Components can be adapted to different terrain. HESCO does things with floods, with levees that are breaking. I mean, there's a lot. Rio Grande is a problem that can be tackled. Whereas not to criticize the 35 feet wall or 30 feet wall, but it's hard to put that type of a structure in the difficult terrain we have remaining to secure. And it's, the concept of what's going on in Mexico now is the drug cartels are really controlling the country. The border is not safe, in that even for those families that want to cross, they get apprehended by the gangs that control the border, by the drug cartels. They're raped, they're robbed, they're made to carry drugs. I mean, this is a human tragedy that we're not going to get control of until we secure the border. I was down with the Minutemen in 2006. That was my first book, Minutemen, The Battle to Secure the Border, with Jim Gilchrist. I've been at this a long time, and I'm imploring everyone to get involved, because President Trump, I'm confident, will be receptive once he knows about the Terrablock system.
I agree 100%. Once he sees this, there's no doubt that with everything he's done in his lifetime, especially in construction and building, he's going to love this system. So it's up to us, folks, to continue to push this with members of Congress and on social media. Let this word get out there, the Terrablock, and look it up, look at the websites, educate yourself on it. So if anybody asks you about it or talks about it, what was this you mentioned the other day on social media, you have the ability to share that with them and explain it. Thank you both very much. We are honored to have you with us again, and we plan to have you on plenty more times. I hope that you'll come back with us. We are all in on this. It is a wonderful system. It is the answer as far as I'm concerned. And we're going to be going back down there again next week. And hopefully maybe we'll be able to do something live as well then and bring you on and talk about it at the same time that we're physically down there looking at border wall. So you're both great American patriots. I love you both. And thank you so much for joining us. And folks, we will be right back with John Jensen. So stay tuned. I count on you to be a part of Team Ducote to help us as we build this team to 2020 and beyond.
I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic.
Hello, American patriots. Listen, to bring you this content and the Douglas Ducote Show and the videos, there are only a few ways that this can be accomplished. Subscriptions, which in the future we will have, sponsors, and we've been blessed to have some wonderful conservative sponsors, donations, and we're grateful for all those that we get. Otherwise, you have to go to corporate sponsors. And corporate sponsors do what? Well, if you watch the big news networks, the big sponsors have you do what they want you to do, and they hold that money over you. That is something that we don't want to do here. We want to remain independent so that we can continue to bring you the truth about what's happening in America and not what some corporate sponsor wants us to tell you. It's all about being factual, getting the truth out there to you, the American people. Folks, your donations help us with all the things that we're already doing. For instance, when we go to the border, or we go from Brownsville, Texas, all the way to San Diego, California, that requires a lot of work, camera equipment and so forth, security, transportation. And between now and then, I'm going to be making some special smaller trips to the border to bring you information that is happening. And there's many other projects that we have as we move forward to 2020 and beyond, where we will do this as a team. I count on you to be a part of Team Ducote so that we can be independent and reach out to all Americans to show them the truth of what is happening. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all the donations that you're able to give. And welcome back. We're back with Mr. John Jensen. He's the author of Fix the Nation. John, welcome to the program.
How you doing, sir?
Doing great, doing great. With you being new to the show and new to our audience, I'd like you to just kind of introduce yourself to the audience and give us a little bit about your background and research on immigration and overall, everything you're doing there.
Kind of how I got started. You got it. I founded fixthenation.com about 2010. I've always been interested in politics in a general sense. The Obamacare, I will call it the fiasco, the process of shoving that albatross onto the American people was offensive to me, the process they used. And I went from being kind of a interested bystander to a very active participant in finding solutions for this country because I just got so frustrated. So I'll call it my triggered moment. Since then, I've written several books. politically, which are fixnation.com, Why Go Conservative, Reality USA, which is about the Trump agenda, One Grand Bargain for the fiscal crisis back in 2013, when I could fix the math by 2045. It's insane. That was 13 trillion with the debt back then. Immigration specifically, I'm one of those guys who I've read every single immigration act since the beginning of this country back in 1790. I believe in solving things and fixing things. I don't play blame. I don't look in the rearview mirror and wonder how we got here. I deal with the pieces we have, and I try to pragmatically, in a conservative way, come up with solutions about all the issues of our day. I've got 2 boys. I fight for them because the country that we're going to leave them is, I want to have an active role in making that country the best country we can. And immigration would be one of the hot button tickets. Sure.
Well, amen. What are some of the solutions that you're proposing right now?
Wow, it's a long list. I'll go back to the 2016 election for a smidgen.
Sure, please.
Trump was talking about build the wall. That was his big banner moment. She was families first. So he focused on America first and a wall. She focused on the immigrant and the family unit that's coming to America. Neither one of those are a true solution to everything about immigration. Immigration has about 40 to 50 deep-rooted issues that, unless we have comprehensive immigration reform, which, yes, would have to be bipartisan, you're not going to fix it. You can build a wall. There are so many other aspects of immigration that are deep. You're just going to have continuing issues. And a little bit about the history of the country. We used to be a creditor nation. We're not anymore. We're a debtor nation. We used to have a willingness and an ability to let people just simply come to our country, whether you were an illegal, a legal, or a refugee immigrant. It didn't matter. We were the beacon on the hill. That's a good thing. But we were a creditor nation. We could afford all those people in all those ways to come here, and we had a place for you. Then we had things of, we switched to a debtor nation. Now the cost piece became a concern. Then we had 9/11, which now becomes a national security issue potentially. So now we are at the crossroads of several issues of, we are still a wonderful, diverse country and melting pot. We have to celebrate that. But we have to tighten up who comes here and why. We have to rethink who are our allies in this world and who comes to our country. And again, immigration historically is not something where it's just a blank check. Early 1900s, we screened people out for influenza because we want to protect our shores from people coming with a disease that would help kill millions. So we had to protect ourselves. Later on in the 19th century, or 20th century, we had communism, and we screened people out for that reason. We've done quotas, we've done sponsors, we've done a lot of different things in our history of, I would call it the evolution of immigration. The first Immigration Act was, you had to be a white man in good standing. I'm glad we came off that one premise, all right, and opened the doors of this wonderful, great country of ours. But we do have to rethink things. Illegal immigration has to go way down. Legal immigration should be increased because there is an economic offset there, and we do have a need for both diversity and workers in this country that can do things that we are not able to do for ourselves yet. And they're wonderful, wonderful immigration. Hispanics are about 85% of the sole businesses that get created are Hispanic businesses. I mean, it's just crazy, the numbers of immigrants that are just investing in the country. They're not bad people. Who comes here, how they come here is a process we have to comprehensively fix and get in line with everything else that we have in America. And we have a whole bunch of issues. Of course, they're distracted with impeachment right now, but that's another topic.
I like the way you talk about there's a big difference in immigration from when we had money and when we don't have money. And,
of course.
And this is a lot of people don't realize, they look at it as in the moment. Immigration problem here in America when it wasn't a problem many, many, many years ago, it became a problem over generations and administrations that got us where we're at right now. And, I hope that we see solutions and problems. And, as you saw, we're working with this Terrablock system is just one way, but there are so many ways that we can address our immigration issues. And like you said, we want people to come to America. I mean, we're all immigrants. Okay. We want you to come here legally, and we want you to help us thrive, to have the money to help make this country the best it can be.
Correct. And see, we have a battle going on in Washington and throughout the country. It's nationalist versus globalist. If you're a globalist, you don't care who comes here and why, because we all share the same planet. We're all one country is kind of the mentality that they're working toward. If you're a nationalist, think America first, then you kind of prioritize this country and go, well, what about us? What's in our best interest? That's the healthy lens for any country to have about themselves. Who comes to France? Who comes to England? Who comes to America? Any country should think that way. It's not anybody comes here. It's, okay, hold on. In this day of the cost, the national security, etc., we have to make the process work for everyone, not simply the process work against who's already here. And that's a little bit of the conflict we face right now. And it's the battle, the bigger battle outside that. And I'm very much a process system habit person, because to get any true solution to work, you have to think the bigger picture, and then within that, fill the smaller gaps with what actually can get it done. The pragmatic side of me really takes over.
Outstanding. Hey, look, thank you very much. We're working to bring you back on. I hope you come back when we can do a longer show with you. Where can people find you that are interesting in
FixTheNation.com, @FixTheNation Twitter feed is the best way to connect. If you go to @FixTheNation on Twitter, all my other links are there. My books are available through Amazon if they have to, if they choose to, go give it a read, that kind of stuff. And I cover a lot of different grounds. I try to bring solutions. I do not have every answer. I don't have any illusions about that. Think about it as a starting point. I'm willing to discuss with anybody as far left or as far right as you want to get, okay, to have a solution-based conversation, civil discourse. I don't play blame. I don't get emotional. I don't tell you you're wrong or vice versa. If you want to have a discussion, I'll talk to anybody, but you have to be willing to have a true discussion, not stand and have a soundbite moment and just ideologue throw speech at me. I know what philosophical positioning is. That doesn't get it done, because in the end game of end games, it's like marriage. It takes a little bit of compromise to find a middle ground. You have to give a little to get a little. And I don't care what the topic is. Everyone has to give up a little something to get what they truly want in that big melting pot of whatever that issue is.
Amen. You said it great. Thank you so much, John. Huh? And we look forward to having you again, and I hope you have a blessed evening. Thank you.
You as well.
All right, folks, we're going to be right back in just a moment with my closing thoughts, and we'll bring on producer Dustin Gold as well. So stand by. We'll be right back.
Support our movement. Join our cause. Stop by the Douglas Ducote Patriot Shop to get your official Team Ducote apparel and gear.
Protect your guns and ammo from moisture, mildew, and rust. Use promo code OBC for free shipping on your next purchase. Made in America by Americans. Lifetime warranted. FirearmGuard.com.
And we are back. I'd like to again thank Jessica Vaughn, Dr. Jerome Corsi, Chris Barbarino, and John Jensen for joining us tonight to discuss what should be a topic at everyone's dinner table. We should be talking about our border and protecting Americans from an element that is coming across that you would not want in your front yard at any given time. We're not talking about the women and children that are innocent. We're talking about the drug trafficking, the gang members, the sex trafficking, the elements of society that we don't want here in America. If you're willing to have a lock on your door and a lock on your window, it's the same thing. All right. The best way we can do it is what we've already done and we've started, and that's going down there and showing it to you. So I was down there this past April. If you haven't seen that video, please go check it out. I will be going back down there next week with my producer, and we're going to be talking with some landowners and sharing their experiences of the things that they've witnessed and what's happened to their animals on their farms and even their own pets. All right. I bring that to you for a reason, and that's because you need to know the truth and the facts of what's happening on this border. All right. You're not going to get that from the mainstream media. They're going to have numerous things that they're going to keep out. And we already know that because we've exposed that. There are a lot of things happening on that border that even Fox News will not discuss because it's too disgusting for their audience. Look, if it's too disgusting for you to hear, then you should be the first person willing to help do something to help protect this border and protect Americans. So there's a point behind this. We're going to show you what's happening. We're going to expose what's happening. And some of it you're not going to like. Some of it is very, very hard to take. But it's reality, my friends. It's what we're dealing with. It's what our brave men and women on the Border Patrol are dealing with, and ICE agents, and the local county sheriff's departments that are across the border, and the state police, and the cities that are there with the city police. Our brave men and women in law enforcement are seeing things on the border that no one else is seeing, or when they do see it, it's very rare. And I'm telling you, it's not good, my friends, and we have to do something. We're bringing you solutions. We're not going to sit here and just talk about how bad it is without solutions. And we've shown you over the past week and tonight the Terrablock system. It's something that you've got to help us push. You've got to talk to your members of Congress. You've got to share it on social media. You've got to get the word out there. Help us get the word out there that this system is needed yesterday. It cannot be deployed soon enough. The money's there, and it's a whole lot cheaper, billions cheaper than what we have right now that's not going to work and be up by 2020. So I'd like to bring on my producer real quick, Dustin Gold. Dustin, how are you, brother?
Doing wonderful, Doug. That was a great show. Yeah, look, I just want to reiterate based on what you just said. Doug is still going to be doing rants and talking about all the problems, but on some of these big issues, Team Ducote wants to lead. We want to lead on solutions. Now, people can challenge these solutions. You could come forward, email us anytime you want. You can email me, Dustin@DouglasDucote.com. Anything that comes through that's relevant, I get over to Doug. If you have other solutions, other ideas, bring them forward. But on border, I've been involved with this since 2006. People like Jerome Corsi's been writing about it since 2005. Jessica Vaughn's been in this battle for 20 years. We can't wait any longer. So we're going to bring forward this three-pronged solution. It combines the wall element, which is Terrablock. It combines an alarm element, which is the PID the penetration intrusion detection system, and then what we're putting together is an idea Doug brought forward a few months back on National Guard rapid response teams. So when people say, well, people can dig under it, they can go over it, first off, there's a 3.5-foot barbed wire coil that goes on the top of this system, which we're going to have diagrams of soon from HESCO and from Prevengo. Yes, people can tunnel under. It takes a while to dig a tunnel. It also causes vibration. It sets off the PID system. If you have a National Guard and or Customs and Border Patrol rapid response team, they can respond to that before people are able to dig over. The issue that we all see now through Jessica Vaughn and others is that once they're in the country, they, whether you like it or not, are under constitutional law and they have certain rights. That's stuff that we could talk about changing in the future, but right now that is the case. So once they're inside the country, we're pretty much screwed. So if we don't have a barrier, and again to the audience, I know some people just want to complain, say it's the end of the world, we're defeated, it's over with. If we don't plug the 1,350 miles that are wide open, and you're going to see some of this, with what we expose over the next few months, you're going to see it wide open, and we can't leave it wide open. So if we put this solution together, I'm talking one-page, layman's terms. I'm working with some experts right now who are going to be able to come on in the coming weeks to explain how President Trump could do this unilaterally through an executive order, how the money has already been allocated through the Department of Defense funds that he was able to secure. So he can do this. We need to put this as a one-page solution. We're going to be launching Veterans for Border Security. We'll be reaching out to you guys via email in the next day or two to put that together. We're working with some angel families now. We're probably going to bring on one of them, Dan Golvach, tomorrow, who's been with President Trump 4 times. He supports this. He's going to bring an Angels for Border Security group together. We're going to unite the angel families who lost children at the hands of illegals with the veterans who are willing to go overseas and risk their lives to protect this country, this Constitution, and our sovereignty. And I think that's going to be a very powerful voice. And as we branch outward, we may be able to get the Border Patrol Union, who endorsed President Trump, on board, some of the sheriff's associations. So if we could bring law enforcement, veterans, Border Patrol, angel families, and all of you, middle America, together behind this solution, and I think you're going to start to see Doug on some television programs and radio programs, hopefully with Dan Golvach soon, representing the Veterans for Border Security and Angels for Border Security. And if we can make that happen, we have to demand a meeting, not a photo op, a meeting with either Stephen Miller, he's one of Donald Trump's senior advisors, who's one of our immigration allies, with Ken Cuccinelli, who's currently the immigration czar, or with President Trump himself, or maybe even Jared Kushner, who I've read is now taking over this border initiative. Pretty weird for a guy who was pretty much open borders. So I think if we can put the solution out there, it covers all the bases. No one else is doing this. No think tank in Washington has a one-page solution that combines a physical element, combines smart technology, and combines manpower. And if we can do this, we should be able to demand a meeting on behalf of the people. Look, the Chamber of Commerce, all the big business lobby, all of the military-industrial complex guys get a seat at the table when it comes to immigration and border security. We want to represent the people. We want a seat at the table to truly represent the angel families and the veterans and law enforcement and all of you American patriots across this country. It's our duty to do this. It's our right to do this. And we need to start demanding a seat at the table, no longer just photo ops and showing up at rallies. It goes above and beyond this. President Trump has to be aware of this, and he has to answer. Why aren't you doing it if we have the experts saying that you can legally do it? And that is the only way we are going to solve the problems in this country. We're going to secure our border, secure our sovereignty, then deal with the 20 to 40 million illegals that are already here, deal with the H-1B system. Those are discussions that come down the road, but there is no point, even as President Trump floated a few months ago, that he wanted to use the Insurrection Act to use the army to round up illegals in the country. What is the point of doing that if your border isn't secured? That's like saying you're going to arrest a bunch of cartel members and throw them in a prison, but the prison doesn't exist. It's just a piece of land they bought, and we're going to just dump them on the land and say, stay there? So this needs to happen. I know Doug will lead this. I know you guys have some faults with Jerome, Corsi, or whatever. Look, I've known of him for 12 years. He's on board with this. I work with people that are allies when the moment comes together for us to work with allies. We cannot always be fighting. We have to unite with the people that are offering solutions. We have to become a solution-based platform. We need to stop whining. We need to start coming together. People like Magdalene Rose, the 20-year-old conservative you've seen Doug with a few times. She's working on a long-term education solution, something that may not come to fruition for 5 to 10 years. That's the reality. Yes, we sat back on our asses and let this country go to hell over the last 50 years. Now we are seeing what occurred because of that. It is our job. Patriots, rise up, bring solutions forward, and let's start demanding a seat at the table.
Amen. Couldn't have said it better. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. You're doing a great job.
Listen, my friends, we currently have 136,000 people subscribed just to the YouTube channel. Our videos have been watched almost 17 million times. So with those two numbers I just threw out at you, there's no reason why when this video gets uploaded tonight after the live program is over, it normally takes 30 minutes to an hour, that this isn't shared 100,000 times across social media at a minimum. Share this program. Let the world know that you're an American patriot that cares about this country and its security, and help us spread the word about Terrablock. We have to have this now. We cannot wait. We cannot have another American citizen die at the hands of an illegal immigrant, or die because an illegal immigrant was driving a car intoxicated, or an illegal immigrant for any reason, shape, or form that shouldn't be here. And we have Americans dying all the time. You only hear about certain ones, but trust me, the numbers are big. The American citizens that are dying because of people that came across the border that shouldn't have. Bad elements, bad people with bad intentions. Help us secure this border by getting the word out there. Again, thanks to all my guests. It's always a pleasure to have you on. It is day 13 of No Shave November. How's it looking? My wife hates it, just so y'all know.
It's looking good, Doug.
We got a lot of comments when I brought this up the other day, but she's ready to see it go. So I don't know. She might win here soon.
Yeah, the audience, Doug, was recommending all kinds of stuff the other day. They wanted you to grow mutton chops. They wanted you to grow out the American Joe beard. Some people wanted you to go with the Abe Lincoln with the beard with no mustache. Somebody wanted you to do a handlebar. So I tell you, if you do the handlebar with a monocle, you could be the Monopoly guy. So,
hey, look, maybe we'd do something where the highest bidder to bordercommand.com gets Doug to carve his name inside of it or something.
Oh, that would be epic.
Today was a very strange day, my friends. Besides everything that took place with the hearings, check out my earlier video that I did about that. You get my take on how I felt about what took place. But I started my day off peacefully going to a doctor's appointment, and sadly, a neighbor's house was burning. I happened to be there at the same time that first responders were arriving, and was able to video a portion of that live and put it out via YouTube. I'm happy to say that no one was injured. The family was all able to get out safely. We don't know the cause of the fire right now, but about 40% of the home was destroyed, which is a good reminder. If you don't have smoke alarms, get smoke alarms. If you have them, change the batteries. And with this cold weather that we are facing all across the nation right now, listen, pay attention to what you're using to keep yourself warm and your family warm. Don't put something in that's going to be unsafe and lose life. And in this case, lose your home. All right. So be safe about it. Thank you so much for everybody tuning into this special program. We'll be back on our regular program tomorrow night. Our regular program is Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 Central, 9 on the East Coast for the Douglas Ducote Show. If you haven't already done so, please go to douglasducote.com and sign up with your email address. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. So you'll have information that you can't get on the regular YouTube, as well as things about myself, things about my family that I share, and the things that we're doing to help make America great again, the places we're going to be going in the future. Whether it's the border when we do the tour all the way from Brownsville, Texas to San Diego, California, Washington, D.C., up to Nashville, the different events we're going to be attending to help do what? Make America great, keep America great as we push this agenda to 2020 and beyond. So, in closing, as always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, first responders, their families serve too. God, we got to love our families and support them. Our president, our Blue and Gold Star families, and our country. Folks, thank you for tuning into this special edition, and I will see you tomorrow night at 8 Central, 9 on the East Coast for the Douglas Ducote Show. God bless you all, and I hope you have a wonderful and blessed evening.
The United States-Mexico border is roughly 2,000 miles long. According to Customs and Border Patrol, on the day that President Donald Trump took office, there were roughly 1,350 miles of border that had zero barrier, and roughly 650 miles of border that had a combination of slats, roadblocks, concertina wire, or some form of fencing. Today, after 3 years of Donald Trump serving as president, there are still roughly 1,350 miles of border that have zero barrier, and roughly 650 miles of border that have a combination of slats, roadblocks, concertina wire, or some form of fencing. Recent reports by Customs and Border Patrol admit that the Trump administration has only constructed 81 miles of barrier, mostly steel slats ranging from 18 feet to 30 feet high, built in the 650 miles of area where some form of barrier already existed. This is often referred to as replacement barrier. The Trump administration has not built any barrier in the 1,350 miles of border where no barrier currently exists. Recent reports say that Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law, is going to be taking over the White House marketing for the border. Their goal is to have 400 miles, including the 81 miles already constructed, completed by the end of the calendar year 2020, not by the 2020 election. But the majority of this 400 miles will only be replacement barrier and will not address the 1,350 miles where no barrier currently exists. As reported by Breitbart News in October of 2019, based on statistics provided by Customs and Border Patrol, the apprehension of migrants who crossed the border into the United States reached 1.1 million during fiscal year 2019. More than 850,000 crossed into the United States illegally. Of those, nearly 500,000 of the migrants were family units. The apprehension of migrants illegally crossing the border is at the highest level since 2007, when agents apprehended apprehended 858,638. This is dangerous. We are being invaded. At Team Ducote, we have developed a solution. We are working with experts. We are working with Middle America to bring you the solution to invasion, which is war. W for Wall, a Terrablock solution system which can be rapidly deployed across the 1,350 miles that currently have no barrier. Terrablock tells us that they can provide the system for under $1 billion, and this can be deployed by the Army Corps of Engineers, who we are already paying. A for Alarm, a PID, P-I-D, Perimeter Intrusion Detection System, a smart technology which would allow Customs and Border Patrol agents as well as National Guard to know when someone is trying to breach the system. And R for Responders, Manpower. We propose a National Guard rapid response team placed every mile along the 1,350 miles we are addressing. A 6-man team working in 8-hour shifts, 3 shifts per day, would only be roughly 25,000 National Guard. We can stop this problem. President Trump can do this through an executive order. He can do this by deploying National Guard through federal command, and he can do this with the money that has already been allocated through the Department of Defense. At Team Ducote, we are looking to provide solutions to securing our border and securing our sovereignty. We will work with other veterans, law enforcement, angel families, and any other Americans willing to get on board with a solution-based proposal. This is an invasion. We will bring the war.
I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially